I mean, one, we want to win outright. I mean, it's cool when you share it, but not really. So we want to win it outright. So it takes one more win for us to do that, and hopefully we can get that done on Thursday, and we'll make sure we'll jump around because it's an incredible feat in this conference.
Welcome onto the sideline, everybody. I am Sports Director Matt Dowell, joined alongside Jared Parker for another instant reaction episode as the South Carolina women's basketball team absolutely crushed number 17 Ole Miss 85-48. We're bringing you this episode from Colonial Life Arena, where Jared, it was a good Sunday for the Gamecocks, a great Sunday for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, absolutely a great Sunday. You got another ranked win against a good Ole Miss team. I mean, South Carolina, with these ranked teams, the Vanderbilt game, the Tennessee game, now Ole Miss, they've been bringing teams into the CLA and sending them packing with big margins of defeat. It's
a hard place to win. I've said it for years. I think this is maybe the best home court advantage in all of college basketball, not just women's college basketball, but in all of college basketball. It is so hard to win here. A sold-out crowd. College game day was in town, which is always a good time, which you know things are going well when College game day come into town, like, isn't a big deal anymore. They come here every year, and it just says so much about this program and what they've done, because, you know, the first few years you're like, whoa, College game day, and now it's like, hey, what's up, y'all?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when you mention that, because I think kind of like with the men, if that happened, it would be a huge deal. Huge. Not to disparage the men, but it would be a huge deal. Here it's kind of just like, oh, all right, nice to see you guys again.
We're almost surprised if they don't choose Columbia as one of their sites, because you know, we know the fans pack this place out. So good to see ESPN and College Game Day back here, and they always do such a great presentation of showcasing South Carolina and everything that Don Staley and the Gamecocks have built here. Before we get into the X's and O's of this game against Ole Miss, I do want to say thank you to everyone for just an unbelievable response to my conversation with Jamel Johnson, Tessa Johnson's dad. Jared, I'm like floored by, you know, it's our most watched interview ever. It's one of our most downloaded episodes of all time. I saw Jamel. He's actually here. Him and Tessa actually were on the court just a second ago. She was taking some shots. He was giving her some notes, and I got to meet Jamel in person before the game tipped off. You did as well, and so it was good to see him. But just thank you to everyone for just an unreal response to that interview, because, you know, we were just talking hoops, talking life. He's such a humble guy. And Jared, it's been cool to see how that interview has resonated with so many people.
Yeah, I loved it. Great work for you, Matt. Thank you. I gotta give you some credit.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
I mean, but I always love these, and it's funny because, you know, this is what we do as a job. But I love when I get to sit back and watch you interview the parents, because it allows me to be the fan and look at things from a fan perspective and kind of just sit back and watch some hoops combo, and I enjoy it.
I just thank you, man. Thank you for those kind words, and thank you to everyone who watched that. I hope you enjoyed it, and we got a couple people on deck in the coming weeks, but I'm not going to tell you who they are just yet. Okay, South Carolina beating Ole Miss 85-48. Jared, let's talk first, which is the headline, and that is that South Carolina is at least sharing the SEC regular season championship. So they have won the SEC. We just don't know at this moment if it's going to be outright or if they're going to stick to sharing. But for now, they are the SEC regular season champions for the 5th consecutive year, 10th time in the last 13 years. Jared, when you think about how good this conference is and how deep it always is, and especially this year with how good it is, this is an unbelievable accomplishment for a team that has not been at full health for the majority of the season.
Right. The proof is in the pudding with the SEC. You see how many SEC teams are ranked in the top 25, how many make tournament runs, you know, just all the accomplishments that
beating each other up.
I mean, in this 5 straight, there has been a national champion outside of South Carolina from the SEC. So that just goes to show, one, how difficult it is to win this conference, even one year, but to do it 5 straight times, how big of an accomplishment that is, to have that level of consistency in such a war zone.
Yeah. And to have a sizable lead. I mean, 2 games left, and they're 2 games ahead of Vandy and Texas. And, you know, they play today as well. At the time of this podcast conversation and recording, we don't know the results of those games. Texas was up big against Mississippi State. Last we looked, Vandy has a big one against Kentucky. And this is no disrespect to Missouri, who is South Carolina's home finale on Thursday. it will be a humongous shock if South Carolina does not win that game on Thursday and win the SEC title outright. But Jared, it's just an unbelievable accomplishment for a team that has so many new pieces, has dealt with so many injuries this year to not only win the SEC, but to win it pretty decisively.
Yeah, it's incredible because I think I'm glad that it was brought up in the press conference of whether or not this was the best coaching job that Dawn Staley and her staff has done. Now, whether it is, I don't know.
Yeah, I was saying, do we have opinions on that? It's got to be up there.
I'd have to really go back and look for sure, but I think it is up there because it almost, you may not recognize it because you expect this team to win so much, but they really have had to grind and fight through injuries. I mean, so many people on this team. Adele Tack is out right now. Like, that just every game it seems like someone new is out. So to deal with the just revolving door of health and injury and still have that 2-game buffer zone, it's impressive.
And this team doesn't take it for granted. You know, for players like Raven Johnson, this is she's 5 for 5.
Yes.
She has won 5 SEC regular season titles, which is crazy. For players like Latson and Madina Okot, it's their first conference title of any kind. And after this game, we got to talk to Dawn Staley about winning this SEC regular season title once again, and also pick the brains of Tanaya and Madina, who are experiencing, taking home this trophy for the first time.
I think it means a little bit more because this league is so hard. And just the competitive nature of it, to have 2 games remaining and, you're going to share at least part of a championship, a regular season championship in this climate. I'm just super proud of our players for just being able to compete and win at the highest level in this league. I mean, we want to win outright. I mean, it's cool when you share it, but not really. So we want to win it outright. So it takes one more win for us to do that, and hopefully we can get that done on Thursday, and we'll make sure we'll jump around because it's an incredible feat in this conference.
Just blessed, thankful. We went through a lot of trials and tribulations this season with the injuries and illnesses, but thank God that we're in the position that we're in, and we just got to follow through and win an SEC championship after that.
So let's get into the X's and O's of this win over Ole Miss. Jared, first of all, every single person in this press conference today mentioned Raven's leadership. Raven Johnson, who has just continued to be the glue for this South Carolina team. For her, this is just another day at the office, winning an SEC title. So they're like, it must be nice. That's what Tanaya said. It must be nice to just be able to celebrate this all the time. But she is a winner, and I have an agenda. Jared, I have an agenda that I don't know if I'm leading. I don't know, but it's my agenda, and it is that Raven Johnson should be the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. When you look at this game, Cody McMahon, who I think will be the SEC Newcomer of the Year, she came from Ohio State to Ole Miss, and she has had an unbelievable season. She's had an unbelievable week, coming into this game. She went 0 for 9 from the field, and this is a player that's regularly scoring 25, 30, 35 points. 0 for 9 from the field. She had 2 points tonight. And who was on her? Raven Johnson. Michaela Blakes, when she came in here from Vandy, was well under, her scoring percentages. Who was on her that day? Raven Johnson. Every single opponent's best perimeter player is guarded by Raven Johnson, and not just this season, every season. Yeah. And she continuously shuts them down. And I know that when, people vote in awards, I don't think a lot of people, vote as intensely, as we do and look at it so intensely, because they'll look at steals, they'll look at blocks and be like, all right, it's that person. But I think if you really watch the games, especially this season, I'm not sure if there's another player in this conference who impacts things defensively the way Raven Johnson does.
Right, and I think it's fitting that you mentioned, everyone mentioned that. Like, even Coach Joe with Ole Miss mentioned that Raven Johnson is underrated, and we saw that today. Like, Cody McMahon is a spectacular player, spectacular scorer, and today she looked regular. And that's not any diss towards Cody. She's still a spectacular player. That just goes to show the type of things that having Raven Johnson's full attention on you can do to you as a player. It makes people miss shots, make bad decisions. I mean, even when Ravens – and this is why I like that you mentioned it. You kind of have to watch to know, even when Raven isn't necessarily picking up the steal or a block or whatever, she's poking at that ball. She's making plays on the ball. She's making you make those bad decisions where she may not get the credit, but it's resulting in a South Carolina win on that possession.
Absolutely. And if there are other players, you know, that you guys watching or listening are thinking of that are like, nah, maybe it's this person, you know, let us know. But for me right now, I don't know if there's a player who is impacting the game in this conference defensively, night in, night out, the way that Raven Johnson is. And honestly, not only should she win it for this year, but she should win it for a career of being just completely disregarded, you know, when it comes to individual awards. But I do think this year she has been the best defensive player, and what she's been able to do by shutting down everyone's best guard every single game, it's not easy to do. And then she's added the scoring, you know, she's added all this, but defensively, I just think she's been phenomenal. And before we get to our next points, let's hear from Dawn Staley and Coach Yo about what they had to say about Raven Johnson and her play on the defensive end and how she disrupts things for her opponents.
I know, you know, I sometimes cringe, you know, when coaches are talking about their players. And I mean, I understand it because I see it every day in Raven. It's not like just in games. Like, this is what she does against the highlighters. Yeah, highlighters, she gets y'all too. Just unafraid of a challenge. I mean, is willing to walk. She knows. Like, she knew she was going to have to guard Cody. She knew she was going to have to guard Michaela Blake. She knew she had to guard, you know, our opponent's best perimeter. And sometimes, you know, small, you know, power forwards. Sometimes we're unafraid to switch if need be because we know Raven's going to give it her best shot at defending and making it difficult for people. So I see it. I don't think she gets credit enough for what she's been doing over her career because it's very, very much like what she's doing now. It's just she doesn't have the numbers and the steals or the blocks or anything like that we look at. And I think sometimes we lazily look at those kind of rewards, and you just, she's leading in stats. I mean, she's leading in steals. That she must be on the defensive team. No, if you really look at the crux of it, and you really look at, you know, what makes our team go defensively, it starts and ends with Raven.
I think Raven Johnson does not get the credit that she should. I think she is the best point guard in the country. And she makes them go. And sometimes you don't see it maybe in the scorebook, but what she does, you can't teach. All right. And I think that their team is like really coming along and becoming what probably coach expects them to be in March.
So if you're on the Raven agenda with me, let me know. If you're not and you say, Matt, no, I think someone else should get the vote, you know, let us know that as well. But the other storyline, Jared, that you really want to touch on is Madina Okot. And we're not talking about double-doubles today. No. We're not talking about rebounds. We're not talking about, you know, some bully ball in the post. We're talking about three-pointers. Jared, 3 today, and that comes after she hit 2 against Alabama.
Yeah.
She had a famous one against Texas. But this past week, Jared, Madina is shooting the 3, and as Coach Yo said, she looks like Steph Curry out there.
Yeah, we can't repeat exactly what Coach Yo said, but I mean, with Madina, the most impressive thing, because you can see the confidence building. I mean, even I know in the preseason she launched one, but it looks like she's looking for it now.
It's a legit shot.
Yes, it's a legitimate option of hers. It may not be the first option, but it does so much for this team because now you can't sag off of her. But we saw one of those opportunities she had. She drove, didn't make it, but when you open that up where Madina can shoot, Madina can drive, you don't want to give a player like her that option. And her shot looks beautiful. It does. It's a great, she didn't hit the rim on those 3s today. No. There was no rim. It was all net. It's a beautiful shot. So you really see, this is an accident. This is luck. This is very intentional. And it's a very dangerous tool for someone like her to have.
And for the opposition to now have to start game planning for, okay, not only do we have to worry about this 6'6" center in the post, we got to make sure that she doesn't get open because she can shoot 3s. I mean, when 9 of her 17 points are coming from beyond the arc, that's a problem. And then you have Alicia Tornabees, who can also shoot the 3. So you have these 6'6", 6'7" players that have legit shots now, and that just opens things up in a completely different way. But when I tell you this place loses their mind every time Okot shoots a three, I mean, and one is great, and then you go, wow, again? And then you go, again?
Yeah.
It's crazy what she has been able to do. And again, it's a beautiful shot. It is pure. It looks legit. It's been really fun to watch Okot kind of bring that to the CLA this season. Jared, is there anything else from South Carolina's end? I don't know. It was a very good day at the office against a really good Rebels team, a team that I think is going to cause a lot of problems for people in March.
Yeah, I do love, just to give a shout out to Coach Yo and the Rebels, I do love her insight on this game because she didn't take it so much as the thrashing that we saw it as, just at face value. I mean, like, it was a big loss for them, but she mentioned how much of a valuable this experience is because if you want to do big things in the SEC in the tournament, you're going to face teams like South Carolina, and very often you're going to have to actually face South Carolina to overcome that gap in the SEC. So I got to give respect to Coach Yo for how much she respects Don Staley and the Gamecocks and how much she, I guess, learned from this game.
Absolutely. And, it was a tough week for Ole Miss. When I'm thinking, on Sunday nights I have to submit my AP ballot. I'm kind of thinking, like, how do you rank Ole Miss after this? Because they had to play 4 games in a week. I mean, they played at Kentucky. They hosted Tennessee Tuesday for a makeup game, hosting LSU on Thursday, coming to Columbia to take on South Carolina.
Easy.
Nothing easy. So for that makeup game to be in the midst of a week where they're already having to play 2 of the best teams in the nation, that's rough. And I think South Carolina wins this game regardless, but you have to think Ole Miss has to be dead tired, by this point in the week. So shout out to them for coming, for giving them their best. But I don't know if today was Ole Miss's best because I've watched them a lot this season, and I think they're a team, they've already beaten, Vandy, Oklahoma, some really good teams this season. I think that they are going to kind of regroup, refresh after this week and kind of pick up where they left off. So I don't think they should be punished too much for these losses to LSU and South Carolina, because they're not expected to win them anyway, rankings-wise, but also just because I do think you have to take in the situation and the hand that they've been dealt this week into play. But Coach Yo did talk about the environment here at Colonial Life Arena after the game, and she also talked about how she does think her team should be impacted rankings-wise, seeding-wise for the NCAA tournament after what has been a brutal week for her team.
Well, I hadn't seen any other team get punished after losing to South Carolina, so hopefully we don't. And that's for who needs to hear it, because I've watched their games. Okay, the score don't look great, but they still beat teams by 30. So, I mean, and I'm talking about people didn't even move. So if we move, I'm going to be shocked. Obviously, the next 2 games are very important to us. I don't think we can afford to drop those. This is a tough environment to play. We had, I think, like 8,000 people, and it was rocking in the pavilion the other day. And this is times 2. And as soon as we started to make a run, they're so, well coached. As soon as we started to make a run, it was like a pandemonium. I was at a concert. Now, for me, I'm used to it. I've been playing against Don since I was at JU, so this is nothing to me. But for people like my young people that had to step up because Cody's off shooting night, it was a shock. And that's the home court advantage that they have. But I'm grateful for it because I do believe that we can make a run in March, and it will prepare us.
Well, we got one more home game here in the regular season, that is, for South Carolina, which is crazy. Time flies, and that is this Thursday against Missouri. It's a 6:30 tip-off, I believe, and it will be senior day. So Raven Johnson will be honored, and I think that's going to be a big, big emotional moment for her, as she will be going to the WNBA after this. And tonight, Latson, Madina Okot, and Miriam Dowell will also be honored before the game. But the season has flown by. Of course, there will be 2 home games, for the NCAA tournament in the first and second rounds, but that's always a little bit different than the regular season. It has a different vibe, a different feel. But Jared, the season has flown by, and again, Don said too, they weren't jumping up and down today because they want to win the SEC regular season outright, and they can do that with a win on Thursday. And I think the odds of them doing that are exceptionally high. I'm going to give it a 99.99999% chance that South Carolina will be the outright SEC champs on Thursday, and I think it will be a fitting way for Raven Johnson to end her home career here at South Carolina.
Yeah, I think that would be probably the best senior night you could think of. Go out with a win and go out with an SEC championship. Go 5 for 5. Can't complain at that, right?
Can't complain. South Carolina continues to roll here in SEC play. Again, they play Missouri here on Thursday, then go to Kentucky next Sunday, which a game that is big on paper but really won't mean much in the grand scheme of things should South Carolina win on Thursday. But the Gamecocks want to win every game, so they're focusing first on the Tigers and then the Wildcats. And then, Jared, it is SEC tournament time. He's Jared Parker. I'm Matt Dowell. Thank you guys, as always, for watching and listening wherever you guys get your podcasts on YouTube or Apple, Spotify, or Amazon Music. We'll be back on Thursday with another interview with a special guest that I think you're going to enjoy. He's Jared. I'm Matt. We'll see you next time here on The Sideline.